Okay, so at this point in the story, as I said, I tried to get the basketball DVDs from my friend Malik's dad. I played on, or he was P Diddy's bodyguard. I played on P Diddy's basketball team with him, but I tried to get the DVDs from him, and things didn't work out. He was going through like mental crisis, like he was maybe going through like I think he was on drugs and stuff, and tragedy happened. If my parents just would have helped me, if they just would have been there, all the crazy stuff wouldn't have happened. But you know, my parents weren't involved. They told them that they thought I had schizophrenia, which I don't, and I ended up not getting the basketball videos. And I wanted to study the basketball videos. And at this time, I had lost the swag flow. Like I said, my swag flow got really bad at this point because, as I said, I'd already lost the swag flow in college, but I developed artificial swag flow. And I'm not gonna go into details about what this is, but in 2020, I developed it, but then I forgot it. I forgot what I was doing. And it's kind of crazy, but I think I kind of remember now what I was doing, but it was just crazy time. So I was really out of it in terms of swag flow. And just to kind of go on, like if my parents were helping, I probably could have got the basketball videos. Like I wouldn't have had Kenny staying in my place, and all the crazy stuff wouldn't have happened. But my parents weren't helping me. And the other thing is, I wanted like before this in like 2020, I think 2021, I stayed like a couple months in New York, and I was studying at a yeshiva. And this is the thing is, my mom thought I had schizophrenia, and my mom was like, if you're going to be staying at the yeshiva, don't be yelling at people and don't act crazy. And she didn't think I'd be able to stay at the yeshiva because she's like, you have schizophrenia, you're not going to be able to stay at a yeshiva. But I drove down there and I stayed at the yeshiva for a month, and my mom was like shocked. She was like, you can stay at the yeshiva for a month and you haven't been kicked out? She's like, what? Don't you have schizophrenia? She was like confused. And then also I wanted to go to Israel to make Aliyah, and I wanted to start playing basketball in Israel. I met a guy, John Horowitz, who played professional basketball in Israel, and he got me in touch with his agent, and I played with him, and he said that he thought I could play professional in Israel. So I had to get a letter from a rabbi, and then the rabbi called my mom to make sure she's Jewish. And my mom was like, the rabbi told me that he liked you. And my mom was like, what? Because in my mom's mind, I'm just some crazy lunatic, schizophrenic. She's like, he said that you're like a nice person, you're a normal person. Like, what? And I was like, yes, Mom, I'm a normal person. But my mom still didn't believe it. My mom still thinks I'm a schizophrenia, like walking around being crazy. So my mom, but like just one example. So I start writing about how I felt that my grandpa, I wrote the Based on True Story book, and I'm talking about how I thought my grandpa made me into a right-winger white supremacist. And I was like, but then I transcended it. Now I have transcendental consciousness, and now I'm for race mixing, whereas before I wasn't. But then I became for race mixing again, and I was anti-white again. But then this freaking washing machine here screeches all the time, and I asked them to fix it. They're not fixing it. It's crazy. But so that's distracting me. But anyways, so I'm trying to tell. So at that time, yeah. So my mom, it's like that freaking thing is driving me crazy. It keeps on screeching. I'm gonna have to move and talk somewhere else. It's just insane, dude. I asked them to fix it. Even here, I can hear it. Doesn't matter where I sit. But yeah, but my point is, yeah, I wanted to move out of this apartment for many years, but my mom wouldn't let me move because she's like, But anyway, so I start writing about how my grandpa made my mom into a right winger and into a very callous person, and same thing with my dad. And I was like, and my mom and dad, and my grandpa, and how my grandpa's like, if you get a job, if you're part of the anti-entropic roaring function, then your mom and dad might talk to you and stuff. So I talked about how my grandpa's all into hard work, but really he's like, made me into a right winger kind of white supremacist because I felt that he was kind of a Nazi right winger white supremacist. And then, but then, then I'm talking to my mom on the phone. I finally call her. Like I said, I barely could ever talk to her, but, and then, and I trying to get my mom to, so I asked her, can I see you and dad? And we get in an argument, but my mom's like, I forget what I said. I said some mean stuff to her, and then she's like, I fucking hate you. You're not independent. Trying to like duplicate what I was saying that my grandpa was saying, right? How, and if you need to get a job, I fucking hate you. I wish that you were just independent and out of my life. I wish that, I don't want anything to do with you. I hate you. You're such a loser. You did not discover theory of everything. You're a schizophrenic freak. I hate having a son who's a schizophrenic freak. I'm not schizophrenic. I never had schizophrenia. But she didn't believe the quadrilateral. She thought I had schizophrenia. She's out of it. But so then, so she's saying all this terrible stuff, but I'm recording it. So I recorded it and I posted it on Facebook so people could see how my mom talked to me. And it's worse than I even make out. It's like she's calling me names and I'm like, see, this is how my mom talks to me. And it's ever since the shoot away machine. Like I said, growing up, my mom and dad treated me super well. But once the shoot away machine happened, then like I told you, I'm not gonna go into details about what happened to my shot, but my dad always told me to shoot sideways. I get the shoot away machine. He didn't realize the reason why I shot sideways is how I moved into it. I'm picking the ball off a rack. It's not letting me move into it right. I'm not gonna go into details about my feet, but messed up my feet. Then my dad tried to fix it, told me to put my feet the wrong way, and then I'm shooting bad. And then my dad's like, oh, kid, I give up. You suck now. I can't help you anymore. So then he goes inside. And then, but I'm like, Dad, I need your help. Please, come on, shoot with me for a little bit. He always shot with me my whole life. And he always helped me. And, but then my grandpa comes in, he's like, well, what Ryan really wants is independence. And, Ryan has to learn to take no for an answer and to accept bad calls. And, everything is just fine. But everything wasn't just fine. My shot was messed up. So, but then my mom and dad were like, yeah, you need to accept bad calls. And and when you need to take no for an answer and you need to understand everything's just fine and you can't force us. My grandpa's like, yeah, you can't force them. You can't force things. You have to be in the flow. You can't make things happen. So then at this point, my mom and dad were still stuck in that past and none of that would have happened. I think there's something wrong with me that I'm like a make things happener. No, it was just a shoot away machine. If the shoot away machine, none of that would have happened. But now my mom and dad think, oh, we're gonna help Ryan by making him not make things happen. So my mom's like, you can't make things happen, Ryan. You can't force me and your dad to see you. You can't force people to see you. You can't force things. You can't make things happen. That's a definition. She even said one time, that's a definition of insanity according to Einstein. Trying the same thing over and over and getting the same different, never thinking you're going to get different result. Me and your dad are never going to talk to you. You can't force things. So I'm like, we're never going to see you again, So she's like, but she's still carrying over from the shoot away machine. When I was I needed help with my shot and I didn't know it was a shoot away machine that was messing it up. And I can go to details and show exactly what happened, but I don't want to make good shooters think. But they're still stuck in that. So my mom's still like, you can't force things, because I tried to force my dad to help me fix my shot. But my dad was trying to fix my shot, and it just was problematic because I was shooting the ball off the rack, and it was making me shoot wrong. And then my dad told me to shoot even more wrong, and I can go into details about what he told me to do with my feet. And like I said, Malik didn't believe me until I told him what my dad actually said. And then he's like, okay, I see what happened. But so anyways, then at this point, I record it, and I record how my mom's talking to me. She's like, I just want you to be independent. I just want you to get a job. That's why I'm not talking to you. But it's because at the time I was writing, based on a true story about how I was writing online about how my grandpa was all like, he's kind of like a Nazi white supremacist, like all into hard work. And he's like, your parents will talk to you, but they resent you because you're not independent. And if you're just independent, then they would talk to you, and you just need to get a job. So then my mom was like, taking that on, like, yeah, I hate you. I want you out. I can't stand that you don't have a job and you expect me to take care of you. I fucking hate you. Because she thinks that's okay, because that's what my grandpa's telling her. He's like, yeah, well, they're going to resent you so long as you're independent. And that's when I was trying to tell my grandpa. I was like, dude. And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I would have been independent. I discovered a theory of everything. I wanted you guys to help me get basketball videos of when I was younger. If you would have helped me get basketball videos, I could have fixed my shot sooner. I only fixed it when I was playing with Compton College, and the coach told me what to do with my feet, and I finally figured it out. And I started watching the videos, and I started duplicating exactly what I saw in the videos. But at the time, like I said, but I was like, if you would have just helped me, you would have just talked to me, you wouldn't have thrown me to Kauai and tried to make me independent and all this stuff. Maybe I would be independent right now. Maybe I would have got the quadrant stuff big. Maybe I would be playing basketball and I would have been doing the rap music and stuff. But you guys didn't help me. You guys threw me to the side by trying to make me independent and by acting crazy. My mom's like, oh my God, you don't take responsibility for anything. Trying to, again, duplicate what my grandpa says. But as my grandpa says, she misinterprets it and she incorporates it into predator prey software. He says very low level software and dualistic. She says she's not in the flow. But she's like, you don't take responsibility, God. Oh, and then my mom's laughing. She's like, ah ha ha ha. Oh, you're so fucking funny, Ryan. Oh, you think it was me that hurt you? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, you guys did hurt me. You tried to force me into a psych ward. You ended up getting me shot with a shot. You ended up trying to blackmail me into a psych ward. You ended up trying to hurt my leg. And then afterwards, I was on a second floor apartment and I told you to put me on a first floor apartment. And you were like, no, beggars can't be choosers. And then I hurt my leg because I couldn't work out because I didn't want to make noise for the people below me. So I didn't warm up. And then, if I was just on the first floor, I wouldn't hurt my leg. And it's all because, you had this contempt for me that you're holding from high school. Just talk to me. Just treat me normal. You don't have to hold this contempt for me, this hatred. But I was like, oh my God. She doesn't get it. Oh my God. Hi, you're so fucking funny. You're so fucking hilarious. Oh, you really think that I'm the one who hurt your leg? You don't take responsibility for anything. Fuck you. I hate you. Fuck you. That's really how she talks. So I'm like, dude. So again, my mom thinks that she's being okay because my mom thinks she's doing what my grandpa says. I'm just telling him to be responsible, to take responsibility. Isn't that what you teach, Grandpa? That take responsibility for everything? She doesn't get it. She doesn't get that she's acting crazy. So then I recorded that and I posted it on Facebook, and so everybody could see how crazy my mom talks to me. And then, and then this is a crazy thing. So at the time I was not living in my apartment because like I said, I wanted to get my basketball videos and I kept some of Kenny's stuff in my apartment because I was like, dude, just give me my basketball videos that you promised me and I'll give you your stuff. And then Kenny broke into my apartment and took a lot of my stuff. He stole a lot of my stuff. And like I said, he was on drugs and he was going crazy and stuff. So I was afraid to stay in my apartment. So I was sleeping in my car for a little bit. And then I was at the Galleria at the 24 Hour Fitness, and that's when I met for the first time, I met a girl named Katie. And again, like I said, at this time, my friend Bill, or I'm not gonna say his name, but my friend who's Irish and Italian, he was like, Ryan, stop listening to your grandpa, just tell girls they're beautiful. And because my grandpa be like, don't compliment because that's self-confirmatory and that confirms the illusion of the self. I was like, so I told this girl, I was like, hey, you look beautiful. And I was like, can I get your number? And she was like, oh, well, I'll get your number. So I gave her my number. And then she called me a couple days later. And when she called me, I was getting locks for my windows. Like I said, I wanted to get the basketball videos from Kenny. He didn't give them to me because a lot of crazy stuff happened. And then he started texting me. He's like, I'll give them to you if you give me like $1,000 per video and stuff. So I was like, fuck. I just want to get my basketball videos. I want to get the videos and show people, study how I moved, study the swag flows, fix my shot, because I was doing things that nobody does, and I want to study it, and then, all that stuff. So, but then I was buying locks for my windows so that Kenny couldn't break into my place anymore. And then that's when Katie called me, and she's like, hey, how's it going? And then so we set up a coffee date. So I meet up with Katie, and she was very pretty, and she was very nice, and she seemed really cool. But again, at this time I was a leftist communist, anti-white. And I was like against my grandpa. My grandpa wasn't talking to me anymore. And my dad wasn't talking to me. And I thought that a part of the reason my grandpa wasn't talking to me because he was trying to justify my dad. Like, yeah, it's your software. I'm not going to talk to you like your dad's not. So my grandpa had me blocked on his phone, and my dad had me blocked, and my mom, and nobody's talking to me. Nobody's seeing me. My mom and dad hadn't seen me since high school, really, because and they didn't believe the quadrant model. It was just a stupid situation. I discovered theory of everything. And like I said, I could, my mom's like, you should be independent. I would be. Dude, I discovered theory of everything. If you guys would have just freaking listened to me, maybe this, if you would have helped me get the basketball videos, I could be doing the basketball. I could have been doing the rap music. Because when I played basketball, I could write rap music. That's the only time. But it's like, they screwed things up. I could have just had a little support from them if they would have just treated me a little bit normally, not so freaking crazy. So then I meet with Katie, and she likes me, but you know, the thing about her was, and then I'll get to this, my left wing communist stuff probably backfired on me, because then, you know, I go to her place, and first I was hanging out with my friend Brian, and Brian sometimes acts a little bit crazy. He acts a little bit like has some anger issues sometimes, but I'm hanging out with my friend Brian, and then I go from hanging out with him. He was visiting from Texas, and then I go to Katie's place, and then I met Katie at her place for the first time, and I saw that she had a daughter, because she had pictures of her daughter, and her daughter was like half Salvadorian, so she looked kind of like black. She was kind of like she was mixed race. So Katie would be what people call a mud shark. You know, she's a white girl who dated a brown person, right? So, and she had a baby with a brown person. So, I'm with her, and she's like 30. She was 38 years old, I think, or 37. No, at the time she was 37. So I was maybe 38, but but I liked her, so I was dating her, and then we had intercourse and stuff. But I'm staying with her. But this is the thing, is like, I was thinking to myself, like, dude, I don't want to have intercourse with her, because I'm afraid she might have an STD, because she's with the Salvadorian guy, you know. But at the same time, remember, I was like a leftist communist at the time, and I wanted race mixing. So there was a part of me that really liked her a lot, because I'm like, yeah, you know, she likes brown people, and you know, she's a good girl. Like that's exactly what I like. She was Italian, but you know, she looks kind of brown herself. That's what I like, because I didn't like white people, because I was a leftist communist, and I'm like, and she also dates brown people. And also, she ended up telling me later that she had a Jewish stepdad. And I'm like, okay, I like that, you know, because, and no wonder why she likes brown people, because she has a Jewish stepdad, you know. And so I liked her a lot, because I could see myself in her a lot, right? Like, we were both kind of anti-white, it seemed, right? And she had a lot of Jewish friends, and she seemed to be a little bit anti-white, like me. And even like her daughter, Mila, her daughter was kind of brown. And I remember Katie said something about, like, that she didn't want her hanging out with this white girl, because of, I forget how Katie worded it, but like, she doesn't want her around people like that, maybe because she could be racist, you know? So Katie was kind of like, she would have Mila hang out with this black girl named like Anna Rose, and Katie really liked that, and she kind of, because, you know, I feel bad for her, but I kind of saw myself in her, because, you know, she saw herself as probably more Jewish. She was Italian, she had a Jewish stepdad, and she, you know, liked brown people. And, you know, I remember she had a picture of her, that she ended up posting a picture of her, like, with like her face barely showing, and she wrote Ghostface Killah under it, like it's a allusion to a rapper, Ghostface Killah. So she liked rap music. So she was kind of anti-white like me. You know, I liked rap music and I liked basketball, and she liked me probably because I liked rap music and basketball, and she's probably anti-white. And, you know, we're both leftists, communists. And like, another thing was, I was having sex with her, and this is the thing, this is kind of the crazy aspect of it, was, you know, Mila would be in the other room, like sleeping, but we'd be in like the living room. It's a very small apartment type of thing. And I remember but she wouldn't lock the doors, and I was like, is it cool we don't lock the doors? And Katie was like, we don't lock the doors in this house. So she was very like liberated, like very free, like leftist communist, like, let's not worry about sexuality. That's a right winger thing. That's a white supremacist thing, right? And I was like that. So I was like, yeah, I like this, you know. But at the same time, I was a little bit worried. And my friend, my Irish Italian friend, who's a conservative, he was like, dude, that's fucking wrong. You should not be. And he was telling me, don't be with a single mom to begin with. And he's like, especially a single mom with a half Salvadorian kid. He's like, dude, this is going to be bad. But I didn't listen to him. But he's also like, dude, he's like, if she doesn't lock the doors, he's like, dude, that's fucked up. But he's very rigid about sexuality, because he's a right winger. But then my left wing friend Noah, and I'll get more to Noah, he's like a communist hippie, and he's like, Noah Vickstein, he's half Jewish, and he's like, and so I talked to him, he's like, yeah, dude, you know, people are too stressed out about sexuality and promiscuity, and dude, I think it's fine that you're having sex with the girl in there. People are so rigid, you know. He's like a fan of Foucault, and Foucault's like, you know, age and sexuality is like a social construction, and, you know, it basically, like, he's like what the right wingers hate. Like, he says, like, you know, having sex with minors is not that big of a deal. You know, he's a homosexual too, so he's like, you know, he doesn't like the right winger anti free sexuality thing. So, but Noah's kind of like that. So Noah's like, dude, yeah, you know, all this like, you know, rigidity and sexuality. And I was a kind of a Freudian. I wanted to be a Freudian again, remember? Because I wanted to be anti-religion. And I'm like, yeah, religious people are just white supremacists, and, you know, so I was more Freudian, like, yeah, maybe free sexuality is better. But, you know, at the same time, I wasn't completely like that, but I was like, yeah. So I was with Katie, and Katie was kind of like, you know, she had a Jewish stepdad. So as my friend Bill said, she was a Jap. She was a Jewish American princess, and she was very liberal, and she was kind of communist, and she was kind of hippie, and she had had sex with a bunch of guys in her past, and I was with her. But, you know, for a lot of people, this would be a red flag. But for me, seeing myself as Jewish, I'm like, well, I kind of like this girl. You know, she's kind of like a communist, anti-religion, anti-white people, kind of like me, you know? So I'm with her, and I like her a lot. And we're watching, you know, we watched a basketball documentary, and she has a little brown girl. But I like it, the brown girl, because I'm like, I'm into race mixing, you know? And so I'm going to say how all this will backfire on me. My leftist communist stuff will backfire on me. But I'm like, yeah, this is cool. You know, I like this girl. And, you know, I did like her. She was actually pretty cool. She was really nice. And, you know, and also she, you know, I had good sex with her and stuff. And she was pretty. I liked her a lot. She was very pretty to me. You know, so I liked her. But stuff will go crazy in a minute. So I'll talk about that in a minute.